Hey guys, okay, so I started off with a 2-inch plain wooden sphere, and I just cover it with gold paint all the way around, and you want to make sure that that dries good before you start. I wanted to start with candy apple red, and that was with an 11.5mm crochet hook. And then I'm just going to take my sewing needle, which is my very smallest point that I can get there, and I make a crisscross around with that same candy apple red, and then I just start going, I go right in between each of those, and then I go right in between each of those, and then I go right in between each of those. One more time. With one more dot. And I wanted to show that I just slowly start blending a little bit of orange in with the red, and I just do a little bit at a time, and I'll go and do a ring on the ball. So here I'm using my very smallest nail stylus dotting tool, and I'm going right in between two of the very smallest dots there on that first row, and just right next to them, all the way around. And that's pretty much the same design that I'm going to be doing this whole sphere. So I'm just going to fade the color from red to a light orange and then back to a red. And this is by no means perfect. I'm not a machine. And this is just my second attempt on a sphere, a whole sphere. So I tried my best, and I think it worked out, still turned out beautifully. And there's that next row there. I'm just going to do the same thing, just putting one dot on the outside edge of two of the other dots. So every other dot. And that's just with a little bit more orange mixed in. I will list all the colors and all the tools in the description for you. And that's just a little bit larger nail stylus. There are 5 sizes, so this would be a number 2. Again, that's just with a little bit more of the orange mixed in. Just like one drop, and I just mixed it in with that same little palette that I've got already going. That I started with red, and I mixed a little bit of orange, And then just a little bit more orange, a little bit more. And that is the nail stylus number 3. This would be nail stylus number 4. Okay, so I've just lined it up a little bit more. And this is my very smallest wooden dowel. I call it about a 3.5 millimeter in diameter. But it's a nice step from the largest nail stylus dotting tool to, it's a nice in-between step instead of going to the smallest Susan Bates crochet hook that I have. It just fits right in between those two sizes. So I like to use it quite often. Okay, I did want to mention drying time. I would paint about 3 or 4 rows, and then I would let it just sit and dry by itself for about 10 minutes. And then I would go back and just lightly touch it and just make sure that it was good and dry before I moved on. I don't always like to hit it with a blow dryer because sometimes it makes the paint crack, I've noticed. So yeah, I get 3 or 4 rows on, and then I just walk away for 10 minutes or so, and then I come back and do a couple more rows, and that seems to work out pretty well. There I am starting to fade back, slowly fade back to the red, so I'm actually darkening up the paint now, back with the same orange. And that is also a row of using the wooden dowel. So you don't have to press the tool down all the way. That's another thing. You can just just use slight pressure. It doesn't have to be pushed all the way down. Just kind of softly push a little dot to your liking on there, and that just works just as well. Especially when you're trying to fit something in a small spot that you're not for sure if it'll fit any certain size. I just take something that's a little smaller, and I start with that just because you can always go a little bigger. And I just push a little bit. Don't push it all the way down. Okay, so this is my very smallest Susan Bates crochet hook. It is a 3.75 millimeter, and it's a little darker. I didn't fade all the way out to yellow because I really wanted the ball to have more red on there. I really like the combination with the red and the gold. Okay, so I was being careful when I picked that up out of the tray. Okay, this is the largest row of dots here, and this is done with a 4mm crochet hook. So if you grab your crochet hooks and you look at the 4mm, you will see that that's not very big at all. I can kind of put it in perspective of just how tiny all the dots were on this whole sphere. I actually caught myself holding my breath multiple times without even realizing it. I would exhale and I would be like, oh, I didn't even realize I was holding my breath. But this was a very, very fun project. I loved it. And I like the little points. You may not. You may want to thin your paint out a little bit with a medium or a little bit of water. That's totally a personal preference. I just liked the little spiky look and feel of the ball once it dries. It was just a neat texture, I thought. Okay, and again, just in between the two previous dots, just right next to them. Spacing is the biggest thing with this. You don't want to go too far, and you don't want your dots to touch, but you just manage as well as you can. And it's okay if it's not perfect, because most likely you will be the only one that notices that. And it's still going to be a beautiful little sphere. So I encourage not being too self-critical. And here I had went back to the just straight candy apple red paint. I just think it's such a great vibrant red. I love it. And that is using the 3.75mm crochet hook. And again, just kind of, be mindful when you're picking it up and set it down to dry. Okay, now I went back to my smallest wooden dowel, so about 3.5mm size, and I'm starting to lighten the red up again. So we're going to go back, fade back to a really light orange by the tip again. Alright, there you see I had tried my largest nail stylus dotting tool there as the next row, but it just wasn't to my liking. It was too small of a jump, so I just went on and grabbed my wooden dowel before I had too many dots on there and just went right over top of the few that I had on there with that. And that's a much better fit to me. Now in hindsight, I see one of those rows as being too tight together, but again, it's just my second attempt here, and no, it's not perfect, but I still liked it anyway. And I plan to do lots more, and hopefully I will just keep getting better at that. So here I move to my largest nail stylus dotting tool, and I'm just blending that color, getting it lighter with some orange in it. If you get to a point where your dots won't fit, just keep going, hugging it close. It usually straightens itself out by the end of that row, I noticed. So don't give up and scrap it, because I've also done that way too many times, and I no longer do that. I just keep going with it. Just go with it and you'll see. I had added some thinner, some medium here. That paint was just getting thick, so I wanted to loosen it up a little bit, and I made it a little lighter. And that is also my largest dotting tool, nail stylus dotting tool. Just not pushing as hard, or I'm just not pushing all the way down, I guess I should say. Just to gradually get those circles to get, the dots to get a little smaller for you. Just don't have to push all the way down. Okay, this is just a little bit lighter. And that's the largest nail stylus dotting tool. And there I've moved down a size in the stylus and lightened up the paint a little bit more. So that would be a size 4. The largest size would be 5, is what I'm calling them. And here's it with a 3. Getting down to the closing end here. So I added a little lemon yellow to the lightest shade of orange that I had. And I'm using my 11.5mm crochet hook to put a dot on the opposite end. Okay, and I'm going to go put one more row just around that big dot there, and that is with the size 1, very smallest nail stylus dotting tool that I have. And that will be the last row. Guys, if you like my videos, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And feel free to leave me comments. I absolutely love hearing from my subscribers. And I love to hear what you would like to see next. So don't forget to leave me a comment. And there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.